Hello guys, good evening. I bet you weren't expecting that, and I partially was, but I partially wasn't. And I'm here tonight, with the lovely Lee Coppers, Kent Carnivore, from Carnivore Team GB. Today we're going to be celebrating everything that's good on the carnivore diet. We'll be joined later with Coach Stephen Thomas, perhaps a few others that will be straddling in late, I say, but never mind. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to stare at the screen and try and say something clever, but to do that, we're going to need your questions, guys, so please insert any questions in the live chat. We're happy to answer them through there. Otherwise, Lee, how are you doing tonight on this fine 7 p.m. UK Tuesday evening?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, actually. Yeah, weather's been all over the shop, so not doing loads of window cleaning, but I've been doing a little bit more video editing and things like that. So I've just popped another one up with Coach Stephen. That was a really long video, actually, we did. And so I thought it was best to try and chop that up, because the amount of times you put up a long video and everyone's kind of deterred, I don't know if I can commit to that. But then, interestingly, there was a few comments like, where's the whole video? And so, yeah, that's just gone up. But yeah, just working on a few projects. I've got a couple of things kind of in the queue. You know, they go through a process. You know, you got thumbnails, you got some videos, you got stuff you're working on, and you got stuff that's sort of ready to go up and all sorts. But that's basically what I've been up to. Yeah, can't complain.
Nice one. Yeah, pretty similar to me. My current process is come up with a topic, usually come up with a thumbnail or something like that. Depends. You usually do the thumbnails after, actually, to be honest. I'll create some kind of script, a bullet point. I'll do extra research around the topic. Most videos that I make, typically like the 10-minute ones, will take me about 4 to 6 hours worth of research to put together, just to make sure everything that goes into it is solid. It's not to say I do that for every video. Some stuff I already know, so I don't need to come up with more stuff. But sometimes I just want to double check things, add in references, which I always do where appropriate. Then I record it, depending on what I'm doing, with who, where, how, what. That then gets recorded also separately in a separate audio system through the mic. That is then sent to my friend Matthew in Finland, who is an audio technician, who then mixes it so it sounds punchier and much better than everyone else's. I'd say it does, because I actually have a closed captions rate of about half of what everyone else does on YouTube, so people understand me, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So something is working in that case. So I can back it up, I guess. But
I've got a feeling about it, actually.
Yep. Then the next thing I'm saying is trying to kind of think. Give me a second. My brain's not working. I've just got stumbled in my thoughts. I lose the thoughts instantly as soon as I stop speaking, because I've got no energy right now, body fat at all. So that's why I can't be
I saw your legs. I saw the picture of your legs.
Yeah, let me think what I was going to say. So I upload the audio in the video. He then syncs up and makes it sound better. Then I go through with fine tooth and comb and slice up the video, get rid of any excessive ums and pauses. There's not too many of them. I'd say I only get rid of about 3 at the moment in a 10-minute video. What else? Then there's a whole process of like adding this layer, taking out the background, adding in sound, adding in text titles. So yeah, it would take about, the one I'm currently working on, about 2 weeks ago, that's probably about 6 hours more work, maybe 6 hours total work, just to make that one 10-minute video, which is daft. But, you know, it's all about quality, and it may double the amount of views it gets, so who knows. So it means I might get £6 for that video rather than 3. Magic. Then that's pretty much it. Then I just go through, deal with the upload progress. The most annoying thing about uploading and creating videos, guys, is the actual upload process. Knowing what hashtags to put in, what to put on the thumbnail. That last bit is the bit. It's the most important bit, but it's the bit you don't want to do once you've spent 6 hours messing around with videos. I'm sure Lee's probably found out, but
yeah, it's the most.
We might have some questions.
You have to get that right. We have to get all of it right, really.
Yeah. Hi, folks. Have a nice evening. And you, thank you very much. Definitely hit the like. Very good. And Torm has joined us. Very good. Thank you very much. Please remember to leave a comment under the video as well, guys, on both mine and Lee's channel. A lot of you guys say, thank you so much. It's so helpful. Well, that goes further if you type that same thing in the comment section. it goes a lot further when the live chats don't count for much, sadly, which is annoying. Okay, I'm a bit confused about what's going on. People are talking about stuff. Anyway, so insulin resistance and protein take. Is it true that too high of protein can interfere with healing from insulin resistance? 1.2 to 1.5 times protein per pound of body weight. Insatiable hunger otherwise. I think I know the answer here. And it's very different to what people think. And most people have got it absolutely wrong because they heard a few people on the internet say it. And they keep saying the same thing, even though it's been disproven. And Coach Stephen and I are probably the only two people that actually pointed it out a couple of years ago, probably. But everyone's still in the old-fashioned bandwagon repeating what Bart K says, which is, in my experience, not true. Oh, you said this about Bart K. Oh, dear. Oh, dreadful. Oh, stop sucking his cock and get a grip. Listen to what I've got to say and what the actual science does say. And the protein thing is over-exaggerated, except if you've got severe gut dysbiosis, in which case, yes, you will be more gluconeogenic, and you'll also have a higher glucogenogenic effect if you have certain medical conditions or diseases. To find out exactly what I'm talking about with scientific references, well-explained video was about protein intakes that I released recently. To top it off, there's actually another video I'm going to make about protein intakes, which I've already recorded actually. So check those ones out. They're recent on my channel, and that will actually answer your question. But I'm keen to hear what Lee's going to say actually. So Lee, what's your
the first thing I noticed was the healing from insulin resistance. That's in itself not quite accurate, because the insulin, this construct, insulin resistance, is kind of there to help you from continuing to damage yourself.
Mitigation control.
Yeah, it's not necessarily you're healing from insulin resistance. It's that you're now going to just try and change your physiology so that you're not incurring this state that the body finds itself in to protect itself. And so, I mean, if you're just eating fats and proteins, of course, if you sit down and eat a big bolus of protein, you are going to sort of raise blood glucose a little bit. But it's not to the degree that people think. And I think, again, it's something that you probably do want to achieve. I think it's a good thing, for a number of reasons, electrolytes and all this kind of stuff, But I would say that it's not really an issue. It's a non-issue, in my opinion. I think if you're eating food, then your body's going to understand, oh, right, I've got nutrients coming in. I've got to go through a metabolic process. It may kick you out of ketosis, but that's not a bad thing. That's basically what I would say on that. Just keep going with it. Eat food and get rid of the crap, the carbs, the grains, the things that put you in this dysregulation with your metabolic health to begin with. And so when people have, like they say, insulin resistance, it's kind of like if I run into a wall. I've used this demonstration the other day. It's like if I run into a wall, the inflammation that comes after is exactly right. We want that. We don't not want to be inflamed. But maybe just stop running into the wall head first. That's what you want to cut out. And so that's what we're doing. We cut out the carbohydrates. We now restore our functioning of our kidneys, our liver, etc. And then your problems will go away, most likely, like Jonathan kind of alluded to there. With, say, for example, you have type 2 diabetes. Yes, you'll probably, and you go straight into this, yes, you're probably going to be more sensitive to the protein, but it's kind of a non-issue. You just need to keep going with it. Eating food, eat nutrient-dense food, listen to your body, and don't have the dessert. Don't, it's different if you were going like crazy with the protein, but most likely your body's going to go, that's enough. I've had enough. That's as far as I would say,
Perfectly well said. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we would need background information on you, your weight. If you're someone, theoretically, I don't know, I'm guessing, if you're someone that's over fat, then the chances are you need to stop being over fat to get rid of this chronically high elevated blood glucose, not accepting glucose into the cell, chronic systemic inflammation, Randall cycle activation state. The way you do that is reducing your body weight. If there's think of it like a jug. So imagine you got a big jug, and that's full of glycogen, whether it be muscle, skeletal, organ, all sorts of glycogen in your body. So say it's always filled about maybe 70-80%. Now to get below 50% is incredibly difficult. So when people say I'm carb depleted, I'm glycogen depleted, that's a physiological absolute impossibility. And we see in rodent models, at least, because we can't measure it in humans very easily. You can't measure how much glucose is in the human body, at least while it's living, going around doing its processes, sort of thing. It's just impossible. You can do a cadaver, yeah, but not a living person, which is more accurate. So what I'm trying to say here is, okay, they found about maybe half depleted, so you can glycogen deplete by about half. So someone like myself, even me walking around right now, 12 days out from a bodybuilding competition, I'm like 4% body fat, legit. Yeah, I'm quite glycogen depleted, but I'm not, if my glycogen levels will say 1 kilo, I've not gone below about half a kilo. No way. My body would not function. There's a certain homeostatic physiological range which your body has to absolutely have at all times. Now, as soon as you start dipping down into that lower glucose state, it allows glucagon to kick up a bit. Okay, we need to become more glucogenic because we don't have the fat in our body to top up our intramuscular triglycerides, intracellular glycogen, intramuscular glycogen, all those sort of things. Because we're not raising it, we're not, there's no raised elevated insulin. So another mistake people make is they say, oh, my insulin is always high, therefore I cannot burn fat. Well, it's high, but there will be a point in time, a trough, at some point in time, unless you're chronically eating every fucking hour of the day, even if it's 1 hour that you're not eating, okay, your body will become more responsive to that little dip, and you'll get more hungry, more agitated. So that's why bodybuilders will eat 6 meals a day. If they miss one and have 5, if we eat 5, fuck, we're all fed. If they eat 5, because of their chronic up and down blood glucose levels, they feel like crap. They can't manage, so they might have to have 6 meals per day because they've allowed that dip to happen. So what my theory is, isn't that your protein is too high, it's probably that your fat is too low. So if you're cooking, say, a ribeye steak on the grill and it's all going down the barbecue, you chew it, oh, it's tasty, yeah, well, the fat's marbled, yeah, great, it tastes nice, fat is tasty, as soon as you get used to it. But the problem is, what happens then? When all that fat is in the bottom of the pan, the bottom of the pit, and it's gone. So you think you're getting, 1-to-1 protein to fat ratio when you're not. And it's one of the biggest mistakes I see of a lot of people. So my way around that, my hack around that, and something actually Phil Escott also does, and I'm sure a lot of people do as well, is they buy the leaner meat, then couple it with the fat, but put the fat on the meat. Then when it runs off, cooks through, you make a broth out of it. You reuse it to cook your eggs in the next meal, something like that. So everything that comes off your raw food should be consumed. Unless it's like a fly or something, in which case don't fucking consume a fly. Probably not a good idea. Probably get diseases and AIDS, infections. But yeah, so that's why that doesn't make sense. So the issue isn't that your protein's too high. It's probably you just need to add more fat. So now with me saying that, some people do have binge eating disorders. And it does seem to be around protein. I know lots of guys out there, specifically guys in the fitness space, that come to Carnivore. They're like, oh, I eat 3 kilos of meat a day. Yeah, you're eating chicken breast, mate. Oh, I'm eating loads of calories. You're eating chicken breast. You're cooking actually even probably half the fat out of it anyway because you're boiling it, for fuck's sake. I mean, that's part of the problem. And they think, oh, I'm never satiated. It's because you're eating too lean, trying to do too much at once. When you get more fat adapted, your body will become more resilient to this gluconogenic effect because your gut microbiome is more settled. Now, we know fatty acids such as short-chain fatty acids, butyric acid, propionic acid, I think acetic acid, different things like that, they all have a beneficial effect on gut bacteria and feeding colonocytes, as I'm sure Lee would know. So in that instance, when you have those fats in your system, there's no longer this gut dysbiosis thing, therefore your protein becomes less gluconogenic. There we go. That's it. I know I sound arrogant saying it, but that is the story. And people, I need to spend 5-10 minutes explaining that every time to someone. And they say, no, you don't talk about it. No, I've done this so many times and I've got loads of people to do it. When you eat a large bolus of protein, your insulin levels will go up, theoretically, because your glucose levels go up. Where one goes, the other will follow. But yeah, it will go up a bit, but it will never go up to like a ridiculous amount. Like, I've actually found myself, if I am particularly lean, less body fat, less weight, Sometimes, because my guts are a bit less resilient because I'm malnourished effectively, I'll actually have a high glucose spike from the protein I'm eating, even though my muscle glycogen is theoretically lower. So this is why it's such a nuanced answer. You can't pick it. You need to find out who is it, what's their health status, what's their body fat level, their weight, how active are they, how much protein are they actually eating, how much fat are they actually eating, are they taking any medications which affect their, I don't know, B vitamin status, maybe they've got gut permeability, maybe they're deficient in magnesium, or at least serum blood tests suggest so. Well, that's going to affect gut motility, which can impact digestion, which can impact gut health, and gut brain axis health, which might mean you're depressed, which might mean you're then more likely to binge eat. So there's like so many angles you can put at this, it's unreal. So do you see the problem? Like, that's my problem with questions like this. And I appreciate it's a very sensible question, because it's something that it does get brought up a lot. We're always getting asked about like glucose levels in the blood and insulin. So
yeah, it is obviously far more complex and individualistic. Definitely where you're coming from, your physiology, everything. There is, like you say, so much to it, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Just so everyone knows, I think Stephen will be joining us in about 10-15 minutes or so. I think he's doing something, but yeah. Anyway, get to the next question. So I'll let you answer this one, Lee, if you want. After a year of keto and then carnivore, I'm suddenly got hungrier. Does that mean anything? Do I just eat more? Or I'm too mad.
I mean,
so they're hungrier.
Yeah, the first
thing
thing
more?
that comes to mind is that have you lost a reasonable amount of body fat over this duration of being keto and carnivore? Now perhaps you've got to a healthy weight, but now your demand for fat's increased and things like that, maybe protein as well. That would be what I would wonder there. But yeah, if I was getting hungrier, I'd probably just eat to satiety, you know. But I would imagine perhaps you probably lost weight or something. How long is this? Oh, I don't know. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say this when they lose their body fat down to a really healthy composition. Then all of a sudden they get really hungry because they're not going through their own body fats for fatty acid oxidation. They're now actually having a higher demand for actually exogenous fat coming in, you know. So that would be my thoughts there. But to me, if I got hungry, I would just eat more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without context of what, if you're a healthy body weight, yeah, eat more food.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, now this is a bit somewhat unrelated, but in a way I can make it relate. My caloric intake, for what it's worth, food labeled calorie amounts, what it says on the tin, before I eat it. The number that represents that. That's what I'm saying here. I was on about 3,500 calories ish per day, January, February sort of time. I went down to 2,600 calories, and I've increased in that time my calories to 3,000, average over the week, including high days, 3,200 calories. So I've increased my calories by 600 per day. And I've been doing this for a substantial period of time, like the last 1.5 to 2 months. In that time, I've lost more weight, and I've lost weight quicker in terms of excess body weight than what I did in my first contest preparation a few months ago. So your metabolic rate is very clearly, bear in mind, I'm eating like the same foods. I post it on Instagram. Everyone knows what I eat. It's no secret. It's the same sort of thing every day, give or take 4 or 5 foods. And what am I getting at? What I'm trying to say is your metabolic rate can change a lot. So I've gone from, say, 2,600 to 3,200 at least. So that's about a 600 calorie difference. So 1 to 6 ratio. I don't know. How much is that? 15, but about 15% more food that I'm eating now, and I got leaner quicker, roughly.
Yeah. But it's just the same foods, but different amounts.
Just the same foods, but different amounts. It's not like, oh, I'm less inflamed. I'm using strict. I mean the same bloody foods.
Yeah.
The only thing that will change every now and then, I might buy like a pack of cheese spread. Okay, I'll have that for like 2-3 days because they're only tiny little packs. But other than that, every now and then, my diet is very consistent. And if it says on my thing, oh, I've eaten 375 or 400 grams of protein a day, outside of the food weighing a different amount because I've cooked it, fats run off, anything human error, mechanical error in processing or whatever, I'm within about 4 or 5% of that.
Yeah.
The margin of error is so slim because I weigh everything I eat. And these guys, when I went to the Carnivore conference, these guys saw me weigh everything I ate.
Yeah.
I might not have known how much milk or whatever was in the eggs or butter or tallow, whatever it was. But I made my best guess. And if it's at 150, and I think it was 150 plus an extra bit of butter, that's what I put in. So yeah. But have we answered this person's question?
I think so. Yeah, just eat to satiety.
Yeah,
things change, whether it's like
it.
what you're going through, or whether, but by the sounds of it, they lost a lot of weight, so they probably now just got a bit more of an urge to eat more, which makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you for joining, Harimus Daramidi. Apologies, I can't pronounce your name. Most people can't pronounce mine, including myself. Griffiths is a really hard name to say. Okay, next question from... I want to say hello to Matthew. Hello, Matthew. Thank you for joining. Sorry. So I'm struggling with sleep. I've been eating meat, heavy keto, but recently carnivore. Since carnivore, I keep waking up. Occasionally, I'm wide awake. I try and eat a lot of fatty cuts. Ideas? Good question. It seems like you're doing the right thing. To be honest, eating the fatty cuts is usually where people go a bit wrong. They eat too lean. Stomach hurts, gut dysbiosis, no short chain fatty acids, gastroparesis eventually when they get too lean, don't realise it. What's your take on this in terms of like waking up in the night? And a lot of people do get it. It's very common.
Yeah, but it's so tricky. Again, it's one of these very individualistic things. It could be like one mineral or actually sitting down and eating enough protein in one hit. Things like that. You just don't know. Timing around meals. Some people, they can't do like late eating. Some people require eating a bit later, and they get the same result by either eating earlier or eating later. So it's very individualistic. I have benefited since supplementing taurine. That seems to help. And again, I probably do sit down usually and eat one big meal, and that probably helps with electrolytes. You've probably heard the cliches with magnesium citrate and things like that. It's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult to say. You've got to experiment. You've really got to try and like track what you're experimenting with and see what works. It's just so difficult without more context.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the areas I'd look at involve experimentation. They're all a bit hit and miss. First thing would be blood glucose testing. Probably don't have to do the blood glucose test, but work out what your blood glucose levels are perhaps. Actually, that'd be further down the line, I think. Higher up would be electrolytes, so add in potassium throughout the day. Add in magnesium. Magnesium probably the first one I'd add. Something like a 500 milligram total capsule in weight. That provide you with 100 milligrams of magnesium, which could be helpful. It depends why you're waking up as well. Some people it's psychosomatic. Perhaps they had an experience that day or that week. Maybe a child screaming or something bad's happened to them, and they've recalled that. They've got in the back of the mind, something's playing in their mind. There's lots of things. It's not just always nutrition. It's not, I have this infection, this disease, this break, this problem. Feed it. Take food away. It's not always that. I think as much as that is what we talk about for the most part, I think there's always maybe like 30-40% chance it's something else which you have to sort of pull towards. So it could well be that. But I would personally book a consultation with myself, Phil, Richard, Stephen, Lee, if he does, and anyone. Booking with someone that I've collaborated with. The chances are they're probably pretty cool. But yeah, that's our best.
These help.
Yes. Yeah, they do help a bit. I've got weird I've got 3 different lights on me that looks weird today.
I find I yawn more when I wear them. It's really weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is a brain like a wiring thing. You know, when you have like a bonfire, you
Yes, yeah,
feel
yeah,
strong, like calm but strong. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a weird one. Yeah, Torma. So it's I would try 100 milligrams of elemental magnesium, and that for most products is about a 500 milligram capsule. If you take different types, they have different effects. For yourself, the ones I'd look at are magnesium taurate, magnesium threonate, or magnesium bisglycinate. Either one of those. The bisglycinate one might be the most effective, but I would use that one more so if I'm pushing the dose up, so I can get more effect from the glycine amino acid molecule attached to it, which is a GABA stimulator agonist, something like that. Yeah, so I'm rambling now. What's the next question? Is this a question? Is it better to pay a bit more for fatty cuts with natural meat to fat ratio rather than using butter to supplement the cuts? Fine fatty mince works much better for me. What do you think?
It's similar to what we were talking about at the conference. You know, obviously the
Yeah,
animals can store toxins in the fats. You're best off getting high quality fats and getting, if you can't, you know, if it's a money issue, spending less on the protein. You know, get some meat from the store and then go and get some either free lamb fat. They often throw you some free lamb fat, or just inquire. And they're often super cheap because a lot of this stuff, I don't know, I didn't realize until a little while ago that I was ordering T-bones, you know, but if you get it cut off, you can say, oh, just as it is, just cut it the way it is. But when they start cutting it and put it in like on display, they cut the tail off, they trim this and that. It's kind of like, what are you doing? It's all in the bin. It's crazy. So for me, I would just obviously go to the butchers, inquire about fat. You're better off getting the fat from the butchers. Grass fed, lamb's great because there's always grass fed, very nutrient dense, less toxins, and then you can get your protein, your lean mints and stuff like you say. It works quite well for you. Get your lean mints. See, inquire at the butcher, see if you can get any extra fat because it's gold. You know, it's pure gold. It really is.
yeah. The toxins are stored in the fats. I think you said like
Yeah.
buy the best quality fat you can get for the cheapest per gram. And what you'll probably find, depending on where in the world you live, it's probably going to be, I would say actually lamb fat. It's got the highest amount of omega-3 in it. Otherwise, you're looking at maybe butter. If you can't tolerate butter, ghee. If you can't tolerate either of those, dripping or tallow. There's a lot about tallow. The thing about tallow is it does have quite a bland aroma. So it can pretty much go in everything. It's got a very high smoke point. And there's a lot of talk about stearic acid. I've done my own research on fats recently, like a mega dive into it. They all have their own place for different slight reasons. So for me, the best fat I can eat is probably going to be from oily fish. I seem to benefit from that. The next best fat for me is butyric acid that's found in butter. So butter. Then if you don't like butter, some people don't like it, have cheese. Brie, for example, unpasteurized raw brie, loads of K2, calcium, great for your body, butyric acid, loads, good bacteria, excellent. You can't get much better than that. Parmigiano Reggiano, pecorino. They could ways of getting added fats in, but the thing is, they're more useful for people that want to eat more. Like if you're at healthy body weight and you're like, I want to enjoy something. Yeah, I mean, Parmesan's probably a better choice than just having butter all the time. But butter is great, honestly. A lot of energy density, a lot of nutrient density. But you just don't want to eat butter every day. That's basically it. We got the UK Carnivores come to join. Nice to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I've just done a coaching call consultation, and I said I'm off to do Team GB, and he said, "Oh, you've changed my life. You have changed my life."
Yeah.
Not me. I mean, this show. So I thought that was quite good.
That's not a surprise at all, Stephen. We offer tremendous value.
We do. And you're so humble about it too.
Yeah, I'm definitely very humble. Right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up in about 10 to 15 minutes, by the way, because my I can see new bones in my spine. Put it that way.
Oh, right.
I've now got one, two, three. I've now got 4 visible bones or rods that you can see on my back. So I've got the lower base of my spine, which is the one if you lean forward, you can kind of always see. You know, when you see like a skinny school child or someone doing gymnastics or something. Then I've got the bit at the very bottom, just above the tailbone, like the sacrum. Then I've got two lumps, either a lump either side where my scars are. So my back right now looks like a kite sort of thing. It looks weird. Yeah. I know, Stephen, actually, you wanted to elaborate on something which you found, I think it was today. So do you want to get that?
Yeah. Can I present?
If you've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll share it.
Yeah. So Stephen is off to share some very insightful and useful information that he's found recently, which I think is absolutely cracking. So it's almost like a news show tonight. So much value.
Right. Okay. Well, before I go, this is what I'm going to share. Let's give you a little bit of background. So for 5 years, I've been saying the HbA1c is a flawed metric. And I've had people on our side, if you want to sort of like say carnivores and vegans, it's different sides. I've even had people on our side say, when I've talked about the red blood cells living longer, that it's BS. Yes, I'm talking about the carb addiction doctor, for instance, saying it was BS. He was being interviewed by Dr. Sarah Zaldivar, and she had spoken to me about a month before, and she said, is it true about the red blood cells living longer, making an artificially high HbA1c? And he said it was BS. Right, okay. Well, it isn't, because you can prove it with a reticulocyte count. What I am now noticing in labs is, I'm in a little circle, is that they can I share it? I'm in a little circle, but I can't seem to get that on the screen. There it is. Right. Thank you so much. When you get a set of labs now, they put a disclaimer in there. The diagnosis and monitoring of diabetes mellitus using HbA1c is dependent on normal erythropoiesis and normal erythrocyte destruction rates. Okay, that is the making of new red blood cells and the destruction in the spleen of the red blood cells. So it's in tests. They don't put it in a test for nothing. They put it in a test because people are beginning to use their CGMs. They're beginning to use their daily blood glucose monitoring, their keto mojos, and they're saying this doesn't make any sense and this is what was happening to me 5 years ago. My average blood glucose is great. I know because I measure it. My fasted insulin is great. My C-peptide is great. My fasted glucose is great. And yet my HbA1c has gone up. Well, now we know. The labs are even saying it, because that's how many people are querying that it seems to be very high compared to the other metrics that you can use. So I've been banging on about this for 5 years. Dr. Paul Mason's mentioned it. I think Ben Bickman talks about it. So if you're on carnivore, if you're on keto, and it's in my book, by the way, it's mentioned, which Jonathan is very pleased I'm rewriting and improving. And I'm happy with that, by the way. But I do mention this, and I've also done videos about this. It's nailed on. You can do a reticulocyte count, which is looking at the bone marrow's production of new red blood cells, and it can tell you whether they're living longer or dying. So when I first trained as a phlebotomist, and I'm sorry if you've heard this before, but for those that haven't, you're told ignore the artificially low HbA1c if someone is hemolytic anemic, which just means their red blood cells die too soon, because the HbA1c is a calculation. Simple as that, with an assumption of the life of the red blood cells. So if your red blood cells live longer, you get an artificially high HbA1c, and it's now in the tests. So a little bit of a sort of sod you people saying it was BS, because it's now, you're going to see this. Also, interestingly, I go on about the EGFR, which also has disclaimers now coming on that the EGFR could be wrong because more people are eating protein. So the labs are listening, but not enough. And doctors are still not reading these things and still saying, oh, well, you're definitely pre-diabetic, or you're definitely diabetic because your HbA1c is saying this. And that is not the thing to look at anymore, is your average blood glucose from your readings. That's what it is. And it's your fasted insulin, your fasted glucose. Your ketone levels as well are interesting for your sort of supply of energy. This is what we're looking at. I mean, what is diabetes? What is it? Well, actually, sort of the definition is elevated blood glucose. So there we go. It's in the test. We can get rid of that now. I've got it off my chest, mate. I'm really pleased to get it off my chest.
That's what was brilliant.
It's annoyed me for so long, mate.
Yeah, Lee. Well, I'd say Lee and I had a pop earlier, and Lee happened to be there at the same time. Talking about like blood glucose levels and protein and gluconeogenesis. I was on a rant for about 10 minutes talking about every possible single way that you can't suss it out. Like for example, right now, Stephen, you might find this interesting. So, my last reading of HbA1c was about 32, something like that. It was low normal, whatever. The one before that was about 50, so maybe high normal, some people might say, something like that. I don't know. It was about high normal. In that time, my resilience to foods which are, how to put it, you know when you have a big meal like at Christmas and you just get a slump afterwards, my resilience to foods is weaker, meaning I get that slump more often, with my HbA1c being lower. And I think the pathway, the mechanism is something to the gut microbiome. Because my body fat is lower, I'm leaner, my HbA1c is less. Is it that my body's become more sensitive because I've got a lower digestive capacity?
That you feel sluggish when you eat meat and fats, or when you go off?
If I have like more like seasonings or something I'm a bit sensitive to, like we have a bit too much sugar-free sauce or something, or I have too many milks in my coffee, or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's sort of, I hate this answer, but it is multifactorial, because you could be right. A little bit of gut microbiome, could be a little bit of the metabolic flexibility, people saying that you're not as flexible. Well, actually, it could be your body's telling you, don't eat this guy, you know, we'll slow you down.
You're doing better off now. You're revving up higher now. You're better off maintaining this, so don't do what you did before.
Yeah. It's like, you know, like a pain signal, isn't it? I mean, if you get a pain signal that immobilizes you, you don't go, oh wow, I used to be able to tolerate that when I was younger. You think, right, that's telling me to stop. That's what my body is telling me, that this is not good. So when we talk about this ridiculous glucose tolerance test, there you go. Yeah, Jonathan, let's make it a bit more broad. I don't fail a glucose tolerance test. I shouldn't be drinking that amount of glucose. That's the nub. So if I have a glucose tolerance test, which still many doctors, even in this space, think is a good thing to do to prove metabolic flexibility, they're looking at it wrong. You know, I would never have 9 teaspoons of sugar in this, right? Well, I could have coped with that when I was, you know, high carb, because I was constantly doing that. So I was almost like sugar adapted to that test. Well, now I probably 2 sips and I'd be asleep, because I'm just out of practice and my body's going, that's toxic. So I think Abs was in the room earlier. He did a brilliant analogy about, you know, why is glucose the alleged, when they say preferred source of nutrients out of protein, fats and carbs. His analogy was really great. If you go to the doctor's waiting room, and the adult females are fats and the adult males are protein, and all the kids are glucose, right? And they're all running around ruining the room and making it all sticky and breaking stuff. That's the thing you get out of the system as quickly as possible. Well, let's say your practice didn't have all these kids for months and months and months, and all of a sudden 2 kids came in and were doing all that. The nurse would be like, oh, hang on a minute, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to clear the room. Hang on a minute. Wow, this is really tiring. Whereas they used to have 15 kids, and because they had it every week, they could get rid of them easy, because they knew what to do. They were practiced. Suddenly, you know, you don't have them for a few months, and then you get 2 kids in. And like I say, I've credited Dr. Abs for the beginning of this analogy, but not the end. I've added a bit to it. You can't cope because you don't have the security guards that you had, or the nurses that used to deal with kids. They've all gone. You know, so that's like your gut microbiome. So I feel it is an adaptation thing. You could be right, it's the gut microbiome. I think it's other things as well. I just think sensitivity, transporters. I mean, this is also, we get into the fact that sugar can get into the cells without insulin, and it can do it with diffusion. It's just very slow. So when you start having much lower levels of insulin, And people say, "Oh, the blood glucose has gone up in my blood as well. It's a little bit high. It's like 98 or it's 100." Well, yeah, that's because we're not accelerating it through the cells. We're letting diffusion happen, and we're not using the insulin as much because it's not knocking about as much. Maybe that's what a human should have. This is, it's quite a big subject about, we talk about other things, don't we? Like people say, "I look young." Well, I don't think I look young. I think this is what you should look like. I think people that, like Dr. Gregor, he's like 8 years younger than me, but looks 10 years older, right? Well, he doesn't look good because he's eating the wrong diet. So he actually looks older than he should. I think I look what you should look at 60. That's how I look at it. So, yes, good question. Caught me on the opera. I could look into it if you want, but I think that's what it is. I think there's a lot more to it.
It's more just me airing my thoughts. No, it's not a question. It's my hypothesis.
So, Stephen, how long do you think it would theoretically be possible for RBC to last? I think it's more
4.5 months.
It could be, but I can tell you rough figures. I can give you real rough figures. So the turnover in a carby person is about 180 million per minute. All right. The turnover in a carnivore is about 120 million red blood cells per minute production. So it's so what that would mean is you'd have to be a really good mathematician to work out how much longer they're lasting to give you the same volume, which I can't do off the top of my head. But it's a great question. Hello?
I think he's frozen, isn't he?
I think I bought him rigid.
I'm just going to pretend like I'm frozen. Now you're going to feel really awkward on your own.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Everyone else at home can feel awkward.
I used to like. I know Jonathan Frozen Laptop. I used to like a comedy show called not Naked Gun. It was Police Squad. It was a comedy with all the people that went on to make Naked Gun and stuff like that. But it was based on a police show. It was like a police show. And when it ended and the credits would roll, whatever the end scene was, they'd all freeze. But little bits was it's brilliant. It was very funny. Anyway, he's going to close it down. I'm closing it down. I'm going to end it. That's what Jonathan's saying. So, Jonathan, close it down, mate.
The other half of your video up, Stephen. Anyway, got that one up.
Oh,
just
thank
before.
you. Yes.
Yeah. People seem to want more, which is a good thing.
Well, yeah. There's no accounting for taste, is there? What's GTT? What is Nick referring to there? You were here earlier. Someone's talking about GTT. Okay. Yes. Oh, look, Carney Goff. I usually hear the Christmas meal argument being tied to tryptophan, rich turkey. However, usually the high carb amount on the side is not being mentioned. Carb coma is annoying. Yes. I know what they're saying there. That's true. Yes, it's not the tryptophan in the turkey so much as all the potatoes and the bread sauce, maybe, and all that sort of stuff. Have you answered all the questions here?
I think there was probably one or two, but I think he's probably already closed it down and it's just still running without his say-so or something. He's like, I'm amazed it's still playing.
Well, it's got live up here. We could test it. Is Abs watching? Maybe Abs could say, has it shut down or not? Thank you for all the information. Loving the school community. Thank you, Sherry. That's great. Saw Jonathan's update earlier on his physique. Wow. Yes. Amazed. Why? You're still live. All right. Okay. We're still live.
Okay,
so, Lee.
Questions.
Are we shutting it? Are we going to shut it down? Are we?
It's up to you, mate. It's up to you.
Well, we've got no more questions. Yeah, it's stuck ghost live mode.
I don't know where we got. I don't know where we got because Jonathan was in control of things, really.
Yeah. Well, we're still running, aren't we? How's your day been, sir?
Not too bad. All right. Bit crappy out there at the moment, all over the place. Sort of like living in a cloud, isn't it? It's like not quite raining, but it's also still sort of raining. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get that moisture just floating about in the air. It's kind of doing that. It's almost like April showers as well in October.
Yeah, it's neither one thing or t'other.
Yeah,
Sherry's
which I hate
asking,
saying that.
what are the symptoms of IBS?
IBS, well, I suppose it's much like all the other ones as well, diarrhea and discomfort, gripes and pains, gas, indigestion, bleeding potentially, all that kind of stuff. Just all those sort of classic gut-related problems and issues and symptoms and things like that. Interestingly, when I had my colitis and that in the beginning stages, it was like wasn't even that bad. It was really mild, but it was just like diarrhea and there was obviously blood and things like that. But going into remission, you feel like fine, perfect, normal. And I thought I could tolerate everything, and I ate a little bit of everything in some ways, but yeah, I think they're all much the same thing. I think some people can have, you have the same symptoms. You got Crohn's or colitis or IBS, etc., all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, I think it's it's an interesting question because Crohn's is more sort of ulcerative colitis is like that, isn't it? Digestive tract problem. IBS and IBD have the same sort of symptoms, like
yeah,
constipation or diarrhea, which is always weird, isn't it?
yeah,
Can be one
yeah,
or the other.
exactly. Yeah.
What's Carol is saying? Hello, Carol. By the way, nice to see you. No blood in IBS.
Is there no blood in IBS?
That's
Oh, I
what it's saying
suppose it's
here.
just like okay, yeah. I suppose I think that they're the same, but just different levels of destruction in different places. But they're all caused by the same things. Mostly
Yeah.
plants, and then eventually that casein protein in dairy. Obviously alcohol, but that's a plant derivative. Yeah,
I
plants.
suppose function IBS is functional, isn't it? It's a function of the GI tract rather than a disease. But to be honest, I don't trust any sort of definition in mainstream medicine.
Yeah,
Because in the end, if it's distress of in going to the toilet and how to digest things, it doesn't really matter the nuance too much because we can improve it by taking things out. It seems to be common things that you take out that seem to improve it. Eye health. Somebody said about eye health. I think it might have even been Ab. Stephen, what kind of eye health improvements have you seen in your clients? Well, I had to zoom that in to read it for a start. Well, I interviewed Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, and she is an eye doctor, and she was saying about macular degeneration seems to improve. I know Bart Kay often talks about his personal macular degeneration. He thinks Stem Enhance really helped. I do take Stem Enhance, and the reason I say that is because I have improvements in my eyesight without a shadow of a doubt, much clearer, even when I'm looking at screens and stuff. Sun sensitivity is definitely reduced. I used to wear sunglasses all the time. I can't believe that is such a big improvement. And we were talking yesterday about dry eyes because one of the things that I used to suffer from was very dry eyes, and that doesn't really happen. So I think it. I mean, I'm just talking about me, but also with clients, definitely the sun sensitivity is a big thing. Everyone is more able to cope with the sun. Sunglasses is less needed, and also sharper. I think sharper vision for a lot of people. What about yourself, Lee?
What, like since going carnivore, has it improved or?
Yeah, has it? Have you seen a difference?
I was hoping I had some floaters and things like that, and I was kind of hoping that they would just all go. But I think sometimes you think they're gone, and then you get in the right environment, and there they are still. So I was hoping that they would go because I think Jordan Peterson got rid of some floaters. But when I was younger, I took some Accutane, Roaccutane, and ever since taking those for my skin, right, because the plants, right, but my eyes were just so dry, and if I went into an environment with a lot of air conditioning, I couldn't tolerate it for very long. I was like, "Oh, can we get out?" If I turned the AC on in the car or anything like that, or a window down slightly, my eyes would just be watering because it was so dry. They'd get very irritated. But that has definitely stopped. I don't feel that as much now. So it must be all the retinol.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's just overall health. I did a great success story today where the guy has lost 106 pounds in 112 days and came off 11 medications. And we did we did Carnivore Cure bingo. And I didn't do it live, but I did tell the people I was doing it. And we had all these conditions, and I had a little tick box for everything as he was going through to make sure. Hang on, my screen's going off. Hang on. And we had a lot of common ground, actually, and a couple of things that I think are very low level but frustrating was athlete's foot. I had that for 35 years, and I tried everything, duct tape and acid and really drying in between your toes and powders in your socks, powders in your trainers, and a hair dryer to dry after you had a shower and all this sort of stuff. Nothing got rid of it. As soon as I went, well, it's actually when I went keto, it started to get better. Once I went carnivore, it completely went. But it was one of those things that it went, and it was only when someone pointed out, "Hey, you used to have problems with that. That's gone, hasn't it?" Like, wow, oh yes. So I think with a lot of these things we talk about, like eye health, when it deteriorates, you don't notice as well. So before I had the diagnosis of cataracts when I was high carb, so I'd pick something like this up, which is in your sort of medicine cabinet, and there was some small print on there. I would look at that, and this is my late 40s, and I wouldn't be able to read it, and I just assumed, well, that's just getting old. Of course, I didn't realize it was a cataract. So then when I went in to have my eyes scanned, the surgeon looked in there and went, "You got cataracts. Did you know that?" I'm like, "I did not know that." And this was before I was low carb even. So I had my lenses replaced on my sort of 50th birthday because they wouldn't do it before 50. Well, and but the thing is, the point being, I didn't know that there was something because it was so gradual. It was only when someone pointed out, and exactly the same thing in the last 10 years of eating this way, things have got better I didn't even think about. And that was one of them. When you said about floaters, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, I don't get those anymore. And it was the other thing about hearing was my tinnitus or tinnitus, for those that don't live in the UK and speak wrong. I was in a field one day and I just said to Jane, "Can you hear that?" And she was like, What? I can't hear anything. I said, "Yeah, no, neither can I." It just gone. That was a bit of a tearful moment for me. It was like, wow, I can't hear anything, which as a slightly severely hard of hearing person, that's a weird thing to say, but I could not hear any noises, buzzes, sounds, I couldn't hear anything. Silence. Wow, I could cry now, actually. Seriously, because it was just silence, and I'd not had silence for basically all my life, or all my living memory. I could not actually relate to what was happening. So wow, yeah, that's a real life reaction, by the way. Just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do, we'll shut this down, shall we? Because it's just us two talking, and we're probably the two most boring carnivores in the world, aren't we?
I don't know. Wait,
No, you're very interesting. You're very interesting, Lee. You did a great job interviewing me, actually. And I think Abs, I can't wait for the interview you did with Abs, because he was saying it was just like an amazing conversation. You are a really nice guy. Actually, I'm going to say that publicly, because when I met you at the conference, I didn't know what to expect. And you're just brilliant. Absolutely. You're a lovely bloke, and you're really genuine. And I think that was true of everybody we met at that place. It was just wonderful, wasn't it?
I agree. Yeah, I do have to say, everybody that I met, I never hugged so many people in one day or 2 days. But everybody just so grounded, balanced, kind. Everyone listens, everyone pays attention. We're all grateful, surrounded by these lovely people. So I find that to be with everybody I've met is a carnivore, just very generous with their time. I think that just comes from where we've come from. We've been all fed up and desperate, and I think that humbles us. When we get our health back, we're quite grateful, and we want to help people, and we're more generous with time and things like that. So yeah, same to you, mate, and same to everybody. Phil, everyone, Jonathan, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I would say, I'm not anti-vegan or vegetarian. I publicly say that at least they're trying to do something about their health. And I had a a message today. I was trying to speak to a vegan about the fact that he was saying that his gut was ruined by meat, and I just wanted to say, what is the mechanism? I didn't say it in a nasty way. I was very polite. I just sort of said, I'm really interested in how you come to the conclusion that it was meat that ruined your gut. And literally, I got message after message, a complete diatribe of all this stuff. There's a slew of information about it, and this, that, and the other. Oh, I can't believe you're asking. There was no mechanism. There was no actual answer. And in the middle of this, I just said, whoa, a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of assumptions. I'm just asking, what do you think is the mechanism? And just a load of more aggression. I just said, I'll just stop messaging. Now, I don't think you get that in the carnivore space. If a vegetarian messaged me or a vegan messaged me and said, look, I've seen your thing, just tell me how you think diabetes happens with carbohydrates, I would say, well, this is what I believe to be the mechanism that brings on diabetes. That's it. I would just answer the question. I wouldn't call them names. I wouldn't get all angry. I wouldn't deflect the fact I didn't really know. And that's the thing that I think we end up with, is they don't actually know how to justify what their position is. So, yeah.
I do find often they'll ask, oh, well, how do you explain these guys that perform so well? Or how do you explain this? But it's just not really accurate information. It's kind of like, it's not even an anecdote, because it's just, they haven't been eaten that way. They're actually eating meat. They're actually, you know, that's often what it is. But I'm actually not anti-vegan. People might think I'm anti-vegan. I'm happy to tell everybody that I'm anti-vegan activist. I don't think that those guys are a force for good in the world. I just genuinely believe that. I think that they're a nuisance in society. I think they get in people's way. I think they ruin people's evenings and days. And they're actually very aggressive, very rude. They attack people personally, nothing but ad homs. When we had those vegans come in, it reminded me of West Side Story or something, like a gang of people. And it was just like, you know, you think, what is this? We're all fine and hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden it's like this gang. It's like, but you guys are supposed to be compassionate. You guys are supposed to be sort of a bit more feeling and a bit more sensitive. And actually you're just quite mean and horrible to human beings. And I'm pro-human being. That's all I would say, is that I'm pro-human being, and everything has its natural way of life and natural way of eating. And when you discover that, actually, it might sound quite brutal, but life is death. Life has the name life, but in reality, it is death. And from every angle you can think of, there is no life without death. And for that reason, veganism doesn't exist. And so to ruin people's day for a cause that doesn't exist, I'm against that. I'm not against people trying to gain their health back and try veganism if they've thought, like, and it makes so much sense. If someone said to me, look, you can improve your health, you can lose body fat, you can save animal deaths and the planet. God, sounds like, oh, what's the catch? The catch is it doesn't exist. That's false. That's misinformation, disinformation from many angles. And so for us, I think, you know, most of us carnivores were vegan. How many vegans were actually there? You know, ex-vegans. I'm sure that there was probably 15, 20% ex-vegans at that conference, and they were all lovely people. So I'm not anti-people. You've got to get that right. I'm not anti-people. I'm pro-humans.
Absolutely. As Ian is saying, great words of wisdom, Lee. So I think on that fantastic note, because you are such a great orator, I think I'm going to leave the studio. You can leave the studio, and then Jonathan can have hours and hours of recorded material of just the flag.
All right, mate. Well, it was good to chat again. And
cheers,
well,
mate.
I suppose you've got some other messages you can answer now on another video. So
yes, there are a lot of comments from your video. There's excellent. I have tried to reply to absolutely every one of them, especially the vegans that have jumped on the bandwagon, which is always funny. But there you go. Everyone, thanks for watching. It's been great.
Appreciate it.
There's no advert for Jonathan's book. So Jonathan has a book, Bodybuilding Bible. Buy book. And it's a really good thing, but we haven't got the advert. So we just say, if you want to get his book, do get his book. And I think the good thing is it's only $12 or something like that.
That's it. That was going to be my input.
So, thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers, mate.
Night, everyone. Cheers. See you, mate. Bye.